Welcome to Barkhausen Nature Bites. Today we're talking about a critter that many of us have seen before, probably have gotten up close, maybe not too close, and that's the snapping turtle. And today I'm fortunate because I have a snapping turtle right here next to me who's looking very about to snap, so this will be interesting. And I also have our resident young baby snapping turtle from our nature center. So snapping turtles, again, many of us are familiar with these turtles. The largest turtle we have here in Wisconsin. They can get up to about 50 pounds, sometimes even a little larger than that. Up about 50 pounds, I say, was what they can get up to. And they can get pretty long, about 16 inches or so in length. And they can also live a long time, 30 years. There's reports of ones living longer than that even. So big thing is with these turtles, they're a large turtle. They live a long time. They can get pretty big in size. And there's a lot of actually unique things, and they kind of get a little bit of a bad rap as well. So snapping turtles, they do snap, and you're probably thinking, are they just an angry turtle? What's going on there? Well, really, it's just a defense mechanism. So that's the way they can defend themselves. If I got myself a little too close to this lady, and I know this is a lady because she was just trying to lay some eggs, if I got a little too close, she's going to snap at me. That's her defense. With snapping turtles, like you can see in this young one right here, they don't have a lot of shell beneath them, that plastron right there. They don't have a lot of shell on the bottom of the shell. And here's also, don't get snappy there, I'm watching it. I got this shell from another snapping turtle. And you can see there's not a lot of shell on the bottom. If you think of like a box turtle or a painted turtle, they can pretty much tuck themselves inside that shell, and that's their defense. Well, for snapping turtles, they don't have as much shell on the bottom, so that allows them more mobility. It makes it easier for them to get around, move around quite a bit easier. But as a result, they have to kind of get a little more aggressive to defend themselves, so that's why they get a little snappy. So she's still doing pretty good. One thing I want to show too with the shell is that, you know, especially with kids, sometimes they think about turtles, maybe they can climb out of the shells. Well, if you look at this snapping turtle shell, you can see that you can see the backbone. And so the shell is really growing out of the backbone of that turtle. So no, turtles cannot climb out of their shells. Their shells are pretty much part of their skeleton. So snapping turtles, like I just said, this one is a female. She was just getting ready to lay some eggs inside this little gravel pile, and I'm going to make sure she can go someplace else and not use this particular gravel pile to lay her eggs in. But right about now, so it's early June, snapping turtles are getting ready to lay their eggs, and the females will go out and find areas, and they really do like those loose substrate areas. So when I say substrate, I'm thinking like dirt, sand, gravel. So areas like this, loose sandy soil, is what they really like to lay their eggs. And they're going to dig a hole, maybe about a foot or so, give or take a little bit there, and lay their eggs. And it could be 20 eggs, it could be 60 eggs, definitely quite a range of eggs. And after about 3 to 4 months, those eggs are going to hatch. Now, you probably have heard this with alligators, but the temperature will determine if those eggs are going to hatch into boy or girl turtles. So 82 degrees is kind of like an even ratio for half boys, half girls for the eggs, but really it does vary a little bit. So a different temperature is going to get you a boy or girl turtle from those eggs. So she was just getting ready to lay some eggs, like I said. As far as what they eat, and here's what snapping turtles, this is kind of a little myth about them. They are big time predators, but they're really omnivores. They're scavengers. You almost kind of think of them as like garbage disposals of the wetland environments. They're going to eat anything they pretty much get their mouths on, but this also includes dead animals, a lot of plants. Up to a third of their diet is actually plants. And if you often think that they're going to go and chase down something to eat it, not necessarily the case. What they're going to do is they're just going to burrow in the bottom of those wetlands, kind of keep their mouth open, and wait for something to swim by and snap out and grab it. Hence the name snapping turtle, watching you there. So we often think, you know, maybe these guys eat a lot of ducklings or something like that. It's more of a myth. They're not really eating as many ducklings as we might think. They're really not going to be an active predator, not going to go out there and swim after prey. They're just going to sit in the bottom, wait for something to swim by. So that's typically fish, aquatic invertebrates, insects, crayfish, little things like that, more on the bottom of the pond. And they do eat quite a bit of plants. So a little misconception maybe there with snapping turtles, but they're, like I said, garbage disposal, pretty much eat anything on the bottom of those wetlands. So another thing is too, if you notice this young one right here, this one's about 2 or 3 years old, I have to say. They're not too snappy at this age. I'll guarantee you that she's very snappy at that age. And I say when they get about like good size, like a hamburger size, they start getting a little snappy. That's when they get a little more defensive. But you can see they have very long necks. They have claws on their feet. They kind of look like little mini dinosaurs. So one thing that people often see is that they'll see a snapping turtle on the road and they want to get it off the side of the road. One thing, you got to be careful with it. You really best bet is like a shovel or something like that if you have to move it. And always move that turtle to the side of the road it was going to. Otherwise, it's going to keep trying to cross the road wherever you moved it. So you're getting a little angry right now. You can see that's long neck on the turtle right now as well. So if you have to move it, be very careful. Do not grab them by their tails. If you have to grab them at all, really be careful. The back of the shell is really the best place, but ideally just use a shovel. And again, move them to where they're going to go. So she's starting to climb back up that hill. She's probably telling me to make it snappy. She has some eggs to lay. Thanks for watching Barkhausen Nature Bites.